Hey folks, it's Jordan here from the Tech Rack. On the rack, we have Apple's mid-season color refresh, yellow, in both the iPhone 14 and the 14 Plus. Today, we're gonna take some time to unbox these and show you what's inside. We'll also be able to compare it with the Pro models that are also on Apple's existing phone lineup. And Apple still sells their previous models, such as the iPhone 12 and the 13. So it can be quite confusing when you're looking at the iPhones that are on the market today. So we'll spend some time with talking about the key advantages with going for either the 14 or the 14 Plus. We'll also look at what the differences are to the previous models, the iPhone 12 and the 13, and we'll also compare it with the Pro models, both the 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max. Both of these phones released back in September of 2022, when Apple typically launches their phones every September each year. The iPhone 14 has a 6.1-inch display, while the iPhone 14 Plus has a 6.7-inch display. The iPhone 14 shares a similar body to the iPhone 12 and the 13 that is still sold in the market today. The iPhone 14 Plus, on the other hand, is brand new. This is the first year that Apple has launched an entry-level, large display phone. The 14 Plus also has the longest battery life ever on an iPhone and is much cheaper than the Pro Max counterpart. Both phones come with 3 storage models, 128, 256, and 512 gigabytes. The iPhone 14 starts at $799, while the iPhone 14 Plus is $100 more at $899. Right off the bat, if you're looking for an iPhone that is new to the Apple ecosystem, it's light, it's compact, the iPhone 14 is likely the one to get. However, if you're looking for the longest battery life ever in an iPhone, a larger display, cheaper than the Pro Max models, then the iPhone 14 Plus is the only one to go with. The iPhone 15 is also on the horizon as well. I know we're halfway through this cycle, but there are already rumors out there of the iPhone 15 and what's gonna be on that phone. Here are the phones. We are gonna start off with the iPhone 14 first. So when we look at the back, all the Apple information there. On the sides, iPhone logo. Apple has replaced all plastic wrappings on all of their products. So we're gonna begin and we're gonna pull this first tag. And then now the second. Great. Let's put those to the side. And once we open the box, again. And I'm gonna put this to the side. A little bit suspense. And inside, it's your lightning cable, and you also have your manuals inside. And now let's take a look at the Plus phone. All right, let's rip this off quickly. That always feels great. All right, these are the phones. You notice that the 14 is smaller, like we had mentioned earlier. They are very similar. When I mean similar, basically the exact same, other than the Plus having a larger display, which means a larger battery life. I'm based in Toronto, up in Canada, so we still have the physical SIM card trays on our iPhones, while in parts of the world, such as the US, there is no physical SIM card tray. It's all eSIM based. When it comes to color options, there are 6 for the 14 and 14 Plus. We've got Midnight, Starlight, we got Purple, Project Red, Blue, which is my favorite, and then these ones, Yellow. As mentioned earlier, Apple still sells their iPhone 12 and 13 models on their website. So I did want to outline some key differences and potentially advantages for the iPhone 14. So the first one is that the iPhone 14 does have 1 hour of battery or video playback when it comes to battery life compared to the iPhone 13. So if you're already looking for an entry-level phone with the longest battery life that you can, the iPhone 14 is one way to go. If you want an even longer battery life with a larger display, then go with the 14. The iPhone 14 and 14 Plus also have 1 additional GPU core, 5 in total versus 4 within the iPhone 13. This is gonna help for some graphical intense apps like gaming, potentially movies, video playback, etc. You likely won't notice a big difference, and if you're not a gamer or not doing any graphical intense things on your phone, then you could go with either the 12 or the 13. The iPhone 14 models also come with action mode. Action mode helps with video stabilization with any fast movements when recording. So this is not available on the iPhone 13 or the previous models. So if video is what you care about and you're looking within the entry-level iPhones, then go with the 14 or 14 Plus. And finally, there's crash detection on the iPhone 14 or 14 Plus. Hopefully you never need to use this feature, but potentially when you're in an accident, it'll essentially sense that and it'll alert emergency services and also your emergency contact as well. Now let's take a look at the different tiers. So again, we have the entry level, the iPhone 14 and the 14 Plus. And then I also have here the Pro models. So I have my main driver, the iPhone 14 Pro and Apple's new Space Black. And then I also have here an iPhone 14 Pro Max in the new deep purple color. When it comes to the camera, while comparing these two phones, there are two main differences. One is the first one you can already see, is that the Pro models have an additional camera lens. This is their telephoto camera lens that allows for 3x optical zoom and upwards to 15x digital zoom. What that means is that the Pro model phones can take clearer pictures and videos closer up to a specific item when we zoom in, or let's say further out the distance and trying to zoom in towards that item, building, or whatever. I like to use an example that I typically go with, and that's going to, let's say, sports games. If I'm sitting up in the upper bowl of a stadium or an arena and I want to take clearer pictures or videos of what's on the field, the arena, the court, I'm going to use the Pro model to do that, and I'm going to use that 3x optical zoom, potentially dip into higher digital zooms if need be. The iPhone 14 and the 14 Plus, they have 1x optical zoom as the highest, and you can also zoom digitally, but that'll just distort the picture and videos. The second difference you can see is that the Pro models have a 48 megapixel main sensor, while the iPhone 14 and the 14 Plus still have Apple's 12 megapixel main sensors. The 48 megapixel is going to take much clearer, crisper pictures, but these photos are also going to take up more memory as they're Pro RAW images. So when you're considering what storage capacity to get, and if you want to take those 48 megapixel Pro RAW images on your Pro phone, definitely think about it when you're purchasing and choosing which storage option to go with. All right, let's jump into displays. So for the Pro models, both of them have OLED displays. This allows the displays to be much brighter, allows for more HDR content, much clearer, crisper look, and they also have ProMotion displays, which allows the refresh rate to go upwards to 120 Hertz. 14 and the 14 Plus have 60 Hertz displays. So essentially what the difference is that the 120 Hertz, or the higher the number, it'll allow for a much smoother experience when scrolling through the phone, watching content. So you'll notice here when I lock both of these phones that the Pro models, you can still see the time. This is Apple's new always on display, which is only on the 14 Pro models. And this allows for users to see what the time it is, see notifications without having their phone on or even near them. They can just glance at a distance and see what those notifications are, if they've received any, and more importantly, this is the time. I personally do not use this functionality and I turned it off because it was eating up some battery during the day. And I also have my Apple Watch. That tells me the time, it gives me notifications. So everything that this always on display would provide me, my watch does itself. Some other notable benefits of the Pro is that the Pro also has Apple's most recent A16 chip within the iPhones. The 14 and the 14 Plus have last year's chip, the A15. So there's gonna be a slight performance boost when it comes to the Pro models. There's also a 1 terabyte storage option for the Pro models, whereas the 14 and the 14 Plus on the entry level side only go up to 512 gigabytes. So if you require more storage than the 512, then the Pro is the option for you. And last but not least is the dynamic island. So if we look at both of these screens, you'll notice that the notch on top of this is different from the one here. This one on the Pro is more of a pill-shaped cutout. This is called the dynamic island, and Apple just released it on their Pro phones this year. This dynamic island allows you to interact with certain apps, and I'll show you here. Typically how I use it is if I'm listening to my music, I can just swipe up Spotify to go back to the home feed, and it'll actually show my music at the top. And it's gonna have this haptic feedback when I click on the dynamic island, and then I can engage with Spotify. I can change the songs, pause and play. Very limited, but it's still fun to interact with versus the previous ones where it was just the notch at the top and you could not interact with it at all. Those are some key benefits of the Pro model phones, but there are some cons, and I'm gonna name two. One is that the Pro models phones are more expensive. They're a couple of $100 more compared to its counterpart on the entry-level side. So if you're working with a budget, really consider if those extra features such as the telephoto lens, the always-on display, or the 120 Hertz is important to you. Second is the weight. These Pro model phones are much heavier than the entry-level phones. The entry-level phones are made with an aluminum body, while the Pro model phones are made with stainless steel, which are heavier. So who are these iPhones for? Let's start with the iPhone 14 Pro. If you're looking for a low-cost iPhone with a 6.1-inch display and you like the size of it, you like the weight, it's light and compact, you want more battery life, but you don't want to sacrifice and have a larger screen, this is the one to go with. If you do prefer, let's say, a larger screen and a longer battery life, then let's get the iPhone 14 Plus. If the bells and whistles are important to you, such as the telephoto lens, the always-on display, and most importantly, the 120 Hertz display, then let's take these out completely and go to the Pro models. Really depends on the size you want because they are identical. Exact same internals. It's really just the larger screen size on the Pro Max and with the additional battery life that you get with a larger phone as well. You really could consider the iPhone 13 because this only has an extra hour of battery life and a small improvement on the main camera. So if you can find a cheaper iPhone 13, that's probably the one to get, especially if you're on a budget. If you're in the market but not ready to purchase yet, you are 6 months away from the iPhone 15. So if you can hold off for now, you might as well wait because there are going to be improvements to the phone. Apple typically refreshes their look every 3 years and it's the 3-year mark right now. The iPhone 12 and 13 were very similar to these. Same with the Pro model phones as well. If you're in the market and you need a phone right now, you'll have a great time with any of these phones. You'll be happy with that purchase and you'll be good to go. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you found this video extremely beneficial. If you like what you saw, I'd appreciate if you could subscribe and like the video. It'll help me build this channel and also put out content that you prefer. Thanks everyone, this is the Tech Rack. My name is Jordan and we'll see you next time.